What up, everybody? Famous done caught his first body in raising Kanan in a robbery attempt that went really wrong. It all started out when he had an epiphany at the pizza shop with Kanan when they saw Freddy going in there and getting 3 large pizzas for Freddy. And Famous asked Kanan the question, how Freddy always have money and I'm broke? And Kanan told him, when you're grimy like Freddy, you'll have money. And that's when Famous had the epiphany, and he decided he's gonna be grimy like Freddy and he gonna actually rob Freddy. So that was definitely probably not a good decision for your first robbery. Someone who carries a gun with him, who's already grimy, who you're trying to be like. So your first robbery, when you decide to be grimy, is you going for the most grimy dude you know. That wasn't very smart. He should have went for somebody who he knew was weak and he could actually rob. Freddy, probably not the best choice. Probably why it went wrong. Freddy wasn't gonna just give up to Famous like that. When he did give the bag back to Kanan and everything, I mean, he had a good reason, because all the money that was in it, and he knew it didn't belong to Kanan. But Kanan he respected a little bit more than Famous. Famous he showed no respect for. He said his name several times out there in the hallway when Famous pulled the gun on him. He said Famous a couple times. He said Fame once. And then he went for his strap. Famous already had his strap pointed at Freddy, so it was basically he was left with no option, either kill or be killed. At that point, he done went too far. So a lot of us, I think even myself, definitely thought that this was going to be Famous first. I mean, not Famous first body, but it was going to be his death scene. He was going to get killed by Freddy, but he pulled that trigger. The first time Freddy reached again, pop, blasted him a few more times, and Freddy is gone. So the question that everybody is asking is, who was behind the door? They showed in slow motion after when Famous ran off. They showed in slow motion a character somebody behind the door, a person opening the door to see what was going on, and then most likely they heard the name Famous being dropped by Freddy, since he said it a couple times. So there's been a lot of theories about who is actually behind the door. A lot of people are saying Breeze, and I'll get into that in a second, but I don't think it's Breeze, but I'll get into why I don't think it's Breeze in a second. But it is the old man from the home invasion scene, because if you remember a couple episodes prior to this episode, Kanan got robbed by Freddy, and he had to go and do basically what you call home invasion, where he ran up in Freddy's spot and he got his bag back and his mom's money, and he beat down Freddy after that, which is with a pistol in his hand, which is aggravated battery with a deadly weapon. That would be the charge for that. So they committed some serious crimes in that episode, that if Howard wouldn't have got Famous out of that, he could have been facing a lot of time for those charges. So but yeah, so they did a home invasion and beat the brakes off Freddy, pistol whipped him and all. And there was an old man who from across the hall, I'm gonna put pictures from all this in the screenshots. You probably already seen it flash by, but I got pictures from the screenshots in the video on the on the screen while I'm talking. So flashing, and some of them you're gonna see that old man, be reminded who that was. And I'm pretty sure at one point he had the door open across the hall. So and it is the same apartment building, I know that for sure. So unless that was those kids' place and Freddy lived in another building in the same apartment, which I really doubt. I'm pretty sure that was Freddy's place and those kids were just hanging out with him. But that old man lived across the hallway from whatever place they ran up in the home invasion scene. I'm pretty sure that's the same old man, because the same apartment complex, the doors and everything look the same. You can go back and check that out. Episode 206 is the episode I think you'd have to go back and look at when that happened. But I got the screenshots on the video here though, you can flashing. But I checked all that out, so I'm pretty sure that is the old man. So there's a good chance that old man done called the cops. He knows Famous's name. He most likely heard Freddy say it. If he was looking out his peephole, he probably saw, well, he did have a mask on, but he could just by looking at his eyes, he might have been able to tell it was the same kid who was there in the home invasion. And either way, the cops are already going to know who done been picked up from this spot before. On top of that, he used Palomar's gun to do the shooting, in which I said in the reaction video to this episode, most of the people I knew in the streets, including myself, never had an actual registered weapon to their name. I never had one. My first gun I got way before I was 21 or allowed to carry a gun, and I never had one registered to my name. Even today, to this point, I can't, because I'm a 5-time felon and all. But most of the people I knew from the street weren't carrying around guns in their own name. And if they giving it to somebody to use, like Palomar willingly did Kanan, I don't think she gonna give Kanan a gun that is registered in her name for him to go out and possibly commit a crime with. I don't think that. So that's most likely a burner, meaning a gun who is not going to trace back to her. But if it does trace back to her, Palomar don't know what actually happened to that gun. So she legitimately is going to be able to say she don't know what happened to it, because her daughter Corinne gave the gun to Famous, and I don't know if the cops will go to question her or not. So there's a lot of looking into this, but I want to look into this also. Well, let me get into the Breeze theory. So a lot of people think that behind that door is Breeze, and it could possibly be, but I don't think it was. I think it's the old man. And I got screenshots flashing on this video from Breeze's apartment. Breeze lived in apartment 5D, and there was a stairwell, whatever you call it, right next to the apartment that Breeze lived into, apartment 5D. And it is apparent that there was no stairwell right next to in the hallway where Famous shot Freddy at. So that's definitely not the same apartment building. The doors and everything, the color of the doors and the door handles, I checked all that out. All that is different. So it's definitely not the same apartment. Now it still could be Breeze. That possibly, like I said, it might not be the old man, it could be Breeze, but that would definitely mean Breeze would have had to move to a different building. And that could be a possibility. Once he got into the game, he got a nicer place or whatever. Or it could just be a error from the Raising Kanan writers. It wouldn't be the first one they made, because Mackay Curtis or whatever his name is definitely about a foot shorter than 50 Cent. So the Raising Kanan, Kanan is not even near as tall as the Power Kanan. So that's a error, because I mean, this kid's already 15, 16 years old. What 15, 16 year old? Kanan ain't even as tall as Rock yet, let alone Jukebox, who he towers over in power. So that's one casting error they made. Even though I ain't got nothing to say about Mekhi Curtis, he's a great actor, but it's just an error they made in casting. Additional error they made was showing that Kanan is just now getting to the game, because in Power he told Tariq that he got into the game at 11 years old selling Cracker Jacks or something like that to his uncles. And we see his uncles ain't dope fiends, they're actually drug dealers. So that's another scene that an error from this show that we've seen. So there's a possibility that it is Breeze and it's just an error on the side of production. But I don't think it's Breeze. I'm pretty sure that's the old man. Not saying we're not going to meet Breeze in the final episode, because 50 Cent did say we would meet Breeze by the end of season 2. So I'm in expectation, just like everybody else is, that we are going to find out who Breeze is. But I'm not going to get into it this video, because I got another video to make about this possible thing. But Breeze to me is somebody we already seen on this show, a character who is already in there most likely. But let me move on. So I want to get into the result of this shooting, if this is going to tie into the Detective Howard shooting in Rock, and Detective Howard are going to try to frame Famous for this shooting, because this gun that Kanan shot Detective Howard with, even though he did throw it in the river or whatever that was he threw it in, it was a similar gun. They both are snub-nosed revolvers that they both used for their shootings. I'm pretty sure it was a similar type of gun. Not sure if they could use that to pin on Famous for that shooting. But the heat is starting to come down with Sam the Crackhead talking about it was Kanan who shot Detective Howard. And Detective Howard's been acting like he don't remember who shot him this whole time. So it could be a possibility that Howard and Rock come up with a plan to frame Famous for this for the shooting of Detective Howard. If he gets caught for this shooting, maybe they pin that one on him as well. I don't know how Kanan would feel about that. I don't know if Howard would be down for that. But if it's going to save Kanan, and Famous is already going down for this shooting anyway, I could see it making sense. Definitely a theme that has taken place in Power. We've seen at the end of last season how Rock tried to frame Unique for Kanan shooting Detective Howard. We've seen it multiple times in Power when Tasha and Tariq framed Kanan for the shooting of Ray Ray. Ghost framed Andre Coleman for Jason Minchin. Ghost framed Jimenez for basically taking out his entire organization, as well as Felipe Lobos. And even though he wasn't really trying to do that for the cops' sake, nonetheless he put their cards on all those desks just to make it look like it was them. And even in Ghost, we seen Kane frame Tariq for Detective Ramirez. So definitely been a theme in Power. Framing other people for someone else for shooting. So we're gonna see if this particular shooting ends up making a boomerang and getting Famous framed for something else as well. But I don't know. That's not personally my theory. That's just what I've heard other people say. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I got another theory that's going to be a result of this shooting that I'm not going to get into in this particular video, because all I wanted to really insert in this video was who was the person behind. That's really all I was trying to get to. Who was the person behind the door? Was it Breeze? I don't think it was Breeze. I'm pretty sure that it's that old man, and they might have to go back and handle that old man as well. If he's talking, that might be a possibility as well. We've seen that in Power several times. They have to go out and take out a witness. All right.